to leadership, you know that my heart cringes not just for our world today, but particularly for tomorrow. My passion for raising authentic and visionary leaders is undeniable in all that I do. I remember 2 years ago when I first spoke about the concept of my book, The Leadership Guardian, with one of my mentors. She asked, "What do you want people to feel after reading the book?" My answer was very clear. I want the readers to be sober, become more aware of their awesomeness, and be ignited for 360 degrees transformation in every area of their life. The reviews from the independent readers of the Leadership Guardian has been overwhelming. The Leadership Guardian is truly a transformational movement for those who are tired of mediocrity and are ready to lead a 360-degree transformation in their lives. While I cannot wait for this book to grace your shelf, I most importantly cannot wait for the Leadership Guardian to grace your heart. Get your copy today.
Hello, super leaders. Thank you for joining us again on Leadership Chat with Top Business Leaders. My name is Kemi Ogunkoya. I am a leadership development strategist, management consultant, and author of The Leadership Guardian. And I equip business leaders to develop the right competence to perform effectively in their current roles and also seamlessly take on higher positions. It is nice to have you here once again. And guess what? We are in the 5th week of the Leadership Chat with Top Business Leaders. The Leadership Chat with Top Business Leaders is a 12 weeks virtual event which holds every Saturday between 7 p.m. and 7:45 p.m. GMT +1 and runs through the 15th of May through the 31st of July 2021. And this series focuses on conversations around elements of the dozen model, which is a leadership development framework that I developed that consists of 12 key elements for effective and visionary leadership. And they are clarity, connection, character, confidence, consequence, community, consideration, critical thinking, communication, competence, commitment, and consistency. And I bring to you top leaders over the period of 12 weeks to talk about each of these elements and how you can begin to interact with them better for your personal and professional growth. So my 5th guest on the show is Bayo Adedeji, and today we shall examine leadership and consequence, counting the true cost of leadership, a leader's actions and inactions. And I have no doubt that this will be a transformational event. So let us get to meet Bayo. Bayo Adedeji is the CEO of Waka Now. Bayo has a broad and diverse mix of business experiences across continents. He has a master's in business administration with concentration in finance from Clark Atlanta University in 2009 and a bachelor's of science degree from Obafemi Awolowo University in demography and statistics in 2004. Bayo was a senior finance manager at Amazon.com, managing all products related to inbound and inventory for fulfillment by Amazon worldwide business with over $80 billion in sales. He also has prior experiences for multiple Fortune 500 companies such as Walmart, Texas Instruments, and PetSmart, to mention a few. And today we shall be talking about leadership and consequence, talking about the true cost of a leader's action and inaction. So I bring to you Bayo. Hello, Bayo.
Hi, how are you?
Okay, you're awesome. It's good to have you here.
Yeah, good to be here.
All right. Thank you for joining us today. So, Bayo, we're going to get right into it, right? Consequences. Now, we know that as leaders, everything we do matters. In fact, the things we don't do also matters a great deal. In your experience as a leader, what exactly would you classify to be the cost of a leader's action? How grave can a leader's action be on the overall success of a business, as the case may be?
Thank you for having me, Kemi. And I think we need to take a step back and talk about what actions are, because sometimes in leadership we often think that actions are something that is like a lot of action. Sometimes communication is action. And if you truly want to lead, your ability to communicate to your people in good and bad becomes an action that has consequence. And I think I should bring one to life. The one that resonates more is COVID. When COVID happened, I think that you could tell the difference between organizations that had great leadership and the ones that didn't, just because of communication. It wasn't the health and safety piece. The health and safety piece was just was necessary, right? The information was regarded. HR kind of managed the communication, but the part that was not very overt was the leadership piece. Is number one, somebody comes to you like before COVID, I came out and told my folks that look, I think it's going to be tough to even pay salaries during COVID. We're in the travel industry. I started having this conversation in early March about when I think that there's a risk to our business. There's a risk to our business. I don't know what it is, guys. I'm looking for suggestions. People started suggesting we can go on unpaid leave. We can do this. By the time we had our town hall in 1st of April, we kind of I was able to stand in front of folks and tell them, hey, this is what we think is going to happen. This is how we're going to proceed, and this is how we are going to move to the next level. People did not have false expectation of what to expect at the end of the month. It was very clear about what to expect at the end of the month, and I think that speaks to leadership. So I think a lot of times leaders kind of think that actions are a conglomerate of a lot of things that they have to do, but sometimes it's as simple as just communication, and there's a lot of reward. There's a lot of consequence whether you do it, because consequence does not mean it's bad, right? It can be good consequence, it can be negative consequence, and the consequence it can be as huge as your ability to just do the right thing when you need to do it. Sometimes it's as good as attending meetings on time, right? That's your action, is attending meetings on time to set the example of what you want your organization to be.
Well, that's really interesting, Bayo. And I love something you spoke about. So you said at that point where it was apparent that COVID was here and was coming on us really hard, you had conversations with your team, and then you brought them on board to see, okay, what are some of the things that we can do to ensure that we don't, all get our hands burnt. Now, that was action, right? And, that definitely would have had ripple effect on the entire system within the organization, the environment within the organization, because people would see that, oh, you know what, this leader is actually thinking ahead. Now, for me, I would say that is such an important action that you took there, which means that as a leader, you were able to project into the future and then implement certain strategies and have discussions that will help you avert some form of disaster in the future. Now, that is an action that a leader should take, which means casting. What are some of the implications, for example? What are some of the costs, that business leaders could encounter if they are unable to forecast and forecast effectively?
So I would say this, that I don't think anybody has the crystal ball, right, to kind of know the future. But as a leader, you must have a perspective of what you think the future is going to look like. And you must be able to share that perspective with your team and also listen back to your team for contrary opinions. In every team that I've led, I have formed a team of people that can openly disagree with me as a leader. They can openly disagree. It doesn't have to be a secret. Like, you can tell me the meeting that, Bayo, I don't quite agree with you, but you have to make sure that when you disagree with me, you have to disagree with me with facts, right? And you have to bring facts to the table. And then sometimes I'll say, you know what, it's fair, But again, looking into the future is a core characteristic of a leader. If you are worried about today, you are not yet leading. You are an operations manager. You are just in operations. You are worried about surviving today and even tomorrow and even the next week. A leader thinks about next year, thinks about the next generation of folks. I remember when I told the team about our customer base and how we need to start rethinking our customer base and start thinking about the next 10, 20, 30, 50 years. And one person in the meeting said, we'll probably not be here. And I said, it doesn't mean we should not make the right effort for the future. I think great leaders have to think about the future. They cannot be caught up in all the current. Now, you have to make sure your current is good. Look, sometimes to be a great leader, you must first start as an operation guy where you make sure that your current is good. Like you're taking care of your immediate, like you don't have a house burning, and you cannot have a burning house and be thinking of next year or next week. Next week you have no house. The first thing you have to do is make sure that your house is in order. Once you get your house in order, you have to be able to project your mind forward and start thinking about the future, and then communicate it and discuss it with your people. You sometimes, as a leader, it's tough to express everything in your mind and everything that you're thinking about, but it's critical that you still share a glimpse of it with the people that work with you. And again, if you want to inspire folks, if you want folks to follow you, without a whip in one hand and a stick in the other hand, you have to inspire them by sharing what your vision of the future looks like. That is an action a leader needs to take, is be able to inspire people that work for them. The more you can inspire folks, the better you are, and the more followership you get. That is not forced. That is not a stick leadership. You are more of a futuristic leader. They don't even believe in the carrot. Like it's not a transactional. You're not a transactional leader, right? Where people just are inspired to follow you because they believe in the future that you shared.
Bayo, you have said really interesting things. You have spoken about communication. You have spoken about the ability for leaders to be able to take feedback. Now, I work with a lot of business leaders, and the one thing that I find as a pattern is inability of a lot of business leaders to be able to take feedback. So you said something that for you, you can come for me, you can challenge me, but then challenge me with facts, right? But then when it comes to expression of behavior, for example, how are leaders supposed to get to that point of comfort where they can take feedback, considering the consequences of their inability to take feedback on their organizations? I would like to ask two questions around that. That's one part of it. And then the other part is, can leaders really ascertain the true cost, of their inability to take feedback?
Yes. Oh my goodness. I'll start from your second question. The true cost of you not being able to take feedback is one day you're going to be naked and you will not know, and nobody will be able to tell you. That's the truth. You will be heading towards disaster, and nobody will have the effrontery to walk up to you and be like, "Bayo, man, like you're doing this wrong." If you can't take feedback, I use a simple example. If your flyers are down as a man in the office, and nobody, as you're walking past people, nobody can look at you and say, "Bayo, your flyers are down. You forgot to zip up your flyers." It shows that you're a leader. People are afraid to tell you the truth, because the truth is that your flyers are down. And I think as a leader, I personally believe that oftentimes a lot of leaders sit on an high horse and think that they have the best vision of the future. Yes, you do, because of the position that you occupy. If we do use graphical terms, you see it above of the organization. That means that from a vision standpoint, yes, you can see everything else. But unfortunately, as you look up as a leader, and your vision is if you just draw a triangle on top of yourself and look at your vision, you miss out the bottom of the organization. You miss out the foundation of the organization sometimes, because you're so high up that you can't see down. You can't see all the way down. And therefore, that means that your vantage point is that you have some blind sides. You have some blind angles that you don't see. Because of that, and that's one reason, because of that, if you don't listen to people and you don't take feedback, you're going to miss out on those foundational things that might make you fail. Now, that's one. Number two is that nobody has monopoly of knowledge. Oh my goodness, nobody has monopoly of knowledge. Even your kids can tell you. Like my kids look at me sometimes and be like, "Daddy, that's not how to say it." I'm like, "Man, I I had finished college before I had you." Like, but sometimes they won't tell me. Like I remember I used the word drunkard, and someone told me, a young kid told me that word has been scrapped from the dictionary. I was like, oh, it's now called drunk, right? And your ability to take feedback, and people, you have to be approachable and to take feedback is critical, because like I said, you don't have monopoly of knowledge. Your vantage point eliminates you from seeing the bottom. I'll say one more thing, and then I'll take your next question. I watched a movie once, and the president of that country was being managed. When he's driving on the street, right, they manage everything that he sees. They manage the news that he reads. They manage the social media that he consumes. They manage every single thing. The leader is actually in jail, like in information jail, where, and as a leader, a lot of us are in information jail, where people only share what they want us to know. So in your organization, as big as you get, you start to miss the element of what's happening with your gate man, what's happening with, and those things can crumble your organization. But once you open your channel of communication, that people can talk to you, people can walk up to you and be like, "Oh God, let me tell you this." Like I have learned about fraud from drivers and dispatch riders in my organization, because they know they can walk up to me and tell me stuff, like, and they tell me passively, and they say, "Oga, maybe you need to go check this. Oga, maybe you need to go visit this travel center. Oga, I think that something is funny is going on here." It's your ability to not yell at people when they give you feedback, your ability to just take it in. Sometimes some people give you feedback that is very insultive, and you have to learn how to kind of caution that, no doubt. But again, your ability to see past the words and see and ask yourself, why is this person telling me what they are telling me? What is their opinion? And also understand that if you have monopoly of knowledge, if you know it all, then you don't need a team. You can just do the job yourself.
Wow. Interesting. Now, so as you were talking about that Bayo, that hinges a whole lot on communication. So now I want us to move out of communication a little bit to an area where, there seems to be quite a couple of conflicts now, which is about personal behavior and ethics for leaders. Now, a lot of leaders, may think, oh, you know what, I do stuff in my personal life. It shouldn't really have any consequence on the business. Now, where do we draw the balance between, personal behavior or what a business leader does outside of work, and then how some of these could impact or affect the organizations in terms of consequences, positive or negative, as the case may be?
Oh my goodness. Great question, Kemi. Oh my goodness. I'll tell you, I like to, when I have this discussion, I like to use stories, right? I once went to a comedy show. Thank God that I went to a comedy show, and at the comedy show, there was a lot of video of the comedy show that went into circulation after the comedy show, and people sent screenshots of me to my wife and said to my wife that, "Oh, look at your husband at a comedy show with another female sitting beside him," but the person sitting beside me was actually my wife. And it goes back to the point. Your actions do have consequence, period, whether good or bad. I've been in situations where people make comments about other leaders, and I cringe, or people share gist about other leaders. I will say this in the context of Nigeria as a country. Nigeria as a country, there's not, and it's changing. In the past, as a leader, you could do whatever you like, and you could still be a great leader at work. There was a dichotomy between personal life and your business life. In today's world, there's a trend going on right now on WhatsApp. There's a big trend. It's very common to me on WhatsApp, so it might be going on everywhere. People screenshot your conversations and share it. Like the screenshot ability to take what your conversation, excuse me, not even the words you say, but the things you typed, and screenshot it. The amount of times I've gone abusive with people, like somebody did something really mean to me, and I went to them like, F you, and I go back and delete the comment. Immediately I catch myself because it does have consequence. Look, I wrote an article once on my personal Facebook page. One day I was just mad about my chef, and I wrote an article and I put it on Facebook. And guess what? By the time I woke up, it was on Instablog, it was in the newspaper, it was everywhere. I learned a valuable lesson from that as a leader, you have to be measured. Now, I call it the jail of leadership. There's a jail called leadership. You cannot be as self-expressive as you, and this is my opinion. Like, there's some leaders that still are super expressive and they can say what they like and do that. But for me, when you lead a large organization, you have to be measured. You have to be measured. Now, people will use examples, and somebody will listen to me and say, "What about Elon Musk? What about this person? What about that person?" And I say to them that, but think about the people that their statements have made them lose money, or made the organization die, or make the organization go out of existence just because of their words outside of the workplace. It is important. It is super important that as leaders that we are measured and we caution ourselves. Now, I also believe that you need an outlet. You need a place where you can express your opinions, and sometimes it's amongst leaders like yourself. It's among people that and that's why sometimes you have to create a little bubble with it for yourself, where within your friends you can have those conversations, because those things do have consequence, and it's not just words. It's what you do. It's the inappropriate things, the appropriate things. It does have consequence. I remember a video of a major politician that was getting baited with outside naked, and the video made the rounds. It does have consequence. Like, all those things do have consequence. Whether people believe in you or whether people don't believe in you. Imagine during COVID, I remember where everybody was on reduced pay and everybody was not making you. Everybody was on reduced pay. Imagine as a leader, you go out and buy a brand new Lexus at that time. Like, you go out and buy a brand new Lexus because you've always wanted the Lexus, or maybe you even bought it pre-COVID, right? But the Lexus arrived during COVID, right? And you start driving the Lexus during COVID. You have to ask yourself, how does that make people that work for you on reduced pay? How does that make them feel? It is important, and we're all humans. Like, I understand you bought the car pre-COVID, right? But it arrived during COVID. I think you have to be measured. You have to be measured. You have to understand the unintended consequence of your actions, because the unintended consequence of your action can cost you your role, can cost you your position. And the day people stop, I'll make this comment. Leadership to me is earned. That means that it's never given. They can give you a title, they can give you a position. It doesn't make you a leader. Leadership is earned by followership. Once you can inspire through followership, there's a lot of people that have the title of leadership that are not leaders. And once you earn that respect and that followership, you have to now be mindful of what impact those followers. Now, if your followers don't care and they are inspired by you because you don't care, then you now need to pander to those people because that's what they're inspired by you with. But in our environment, in our society, where people do care, where people actually pay attention to the things you do, pay attention to the things you post on social media, they pay attention to how you say the things that you say. When I first moved back to Nigeria, I remember I used to use a lot of F words, and I realized that you truly cannot inspire people in Nigeria using the F word. Like, you just can't. I was all the way American, and every statement I used the F word. I had to start cautioning myself because of that, because it does matter. And like I said, your followers follow you for a reason, and you have to understand that they also have emotions too.
Bayo, you have said a whole lot, and I love just how real this conversation is and how you are able to share of your own experiences. Now, you spoke about the fact that, we are in a very digital age, interestingly digital age, where people will take the things you say, they will take the things you do. In fact, even in your so-called quiet moment, right? Or in your so-called personal spaces.
Mhm.
I think there was a time we saw some personal pictures of a highly influential royal member of the family that was taken and then was leaked. So really, it seems like um, anyone can get you anywhere. Now, I hear sometimes from leaders who say, you know what, yes, I hear that we live in a world that there just seems to be a lot of keyboard warriors and keypad warriors, and anybody can post anything. But then I own my own business, and I can say what I say, and I can talk, about the way I feel. I shouldn't have to pretend as a leader. Now you talk about leadership as the prison of leadership. Where exactly do people find the balance? Because you have spoken about the fact that we have to take responsibility, we have to also take note of the environmental factors too, just like you had to do. But where exactly do people find or where exactly do leaders find the balance between self-expression and having to put up an act for leadership?
So, number one, if you're putting up an act, you're not a leader. You have to train yourself. You have to train yourself that is not an act. You have to train yourself. Now, you have to train yourself. Now, I like what you said, that where's that balance, especially for people that own their own businesses. I will say this to you, that oftentimes I want to reach out to people for business, and I first go through their page, right? I go through their page, and sometimes I just Google your name, and I ask myself that, do I want to do business? Because you see, in Nigeria, right? Sometimes you start off with the best intentions and things go south. Like, best intentions, good intention, and things go south. Not because you lied, not because of anything, but things go south. The first thing I always ask myself is, would this person run to social media to go and settle our score? Because the the challenge that I have is not about you putting it on social media, but the fact that I can't respond on social media. I will not respond. Like, I have chosen the path of, I will not respond to you on social media. Like, I will not write my side of the story. Instablog will not carry your side of the story. So I always ask myself, in terms of we have conflict, which is normal human existence, where would you take this conflict to? Will you take social media? If that's the case, maybe I don't want to do business with you, right? Maybe I don't want to do business with you, and that's my opinion. And I know a lot of other business owners that when we sit down and be like, man, I think we should reach out to people, like, no. That one that will go on, I'll go and make a live video about how you reached out and that a payment was delayed by 1 day or something. Like I know people that say that. And so number one, it is important that we are measured, whether you own your business or you don't own your business. Don't be a drama king. Don't be a drama queen. Like, learn how to resolve your drama outside of the public eye. And if it does go public, know that you have tried everything. You have exhausted every single mechanism to resolve your conflict. Number two is, as a leader, you have to train yourself in the behavior of leadership. A leader cannot just be an anyhow guy. Like, you cannot just eat. I'm sorry, but, and this is my opinion and my feelings and from my experience, I just know for a fact that leadership is harder than people think it is. People aspire for leadership positions, but they cannot even earn the trust of their followers, because they don't understand that there's a requirement for you to be a leader. The requirement is that you have to be an example, period. Like, period. So if you can't be that example, if you cannot teach frugality and not be frugal, right? You cannot teach frugality in your office and say, look, let's be frugal, but you are buying cars every 6 months, or you are drinking distilled water that costs 5,000 naira a bottle in the same office. Like, you can't do that. Like, you have to, even though that's what you drink in your house, it doesn't mean, but in the office that you're preaching frugality, you can't do that. Like, I agree that in your personal life, you should be able to do the things that you want to do. So when you go home, if your salary does afford you to do that, yes, you can. But in the office, you can't do that. Like, for me, that's the example that you got to say. You can tell folks that, look, I buy it for myself at home, but this office can't afford it. But again, I believe in leadership transparency. I believe in leadership by example. I believe that leadership is never given, it's always earned. And I believe that if you really want to be a true leader, it cannot be pretend work. It has to be something that you do. You have to imbibe it. You have to live it. You have to show it. You have to lead it. And like I tell folks, um, the only thing I can't do is tech. I can't write code, right? I said except for SQL, right? But there's no other job in the office that I cannot do, because I believe as a leader you must be multidimensional. That if the gate man is not there, you have to open the gate. You're not too big to open the gate, because you cannot teach people to do that and not be able to do it yourself. And so if it's pretense, then you're not a leader. You're just a pretender trying to be a leader.
I absolutely agree with you, Bayo. When you talk about the fact that if you have to act it out, then you're not a leader. There's something I say that when leadership becomes an act, it becomes burdensome, right? And until people get to the point of adopting leadership as a lifestyle, which means that they live it every moment of their life, because leadership in itself has no flipping switch. So you can't say, I'm going to lead on Monday and Tuesday, Friday, I go on a ward, or then a meeting between 10 a.m. and 12 noon, and then afterwards I go on a walk. So which means that you constantly have to be in that place of leadership. And in as much as we say that, there's this cage around leadership, as it may be, in terms of you being accountable for your actions, I think it's important that beyond focusing on how to show up, in terms of saving your reputation or trying to put up a front, it should be more about inculcating certain values, certain, leadership behaviors, and understanding the true requirement of leadership, so that, people can step into it. Now, Bayo, I have seen businesses go down, and I'm talking about multi multi-million naira organizations, what millions of dollars go down because of ego, right? Because of leaders whose ego was bigger than the objective or the vision of the organization. And at some point, probably at the stage of reflection, it's easy to say, oh, you know what, they could have done this better, and they could have done this, better. You have spoken about the case of feedback, but then what else could, what else do leaders have to be mindful of, or what else do they have to consider beyond even the downfall of the organization, when it comes to the implication, or when it comes to conversations around the ability to become self-aware about the true requirement of leadership? What exactly do they need to be mindful of?
Oh my goodness, I'm Kemi still on screen. I like looking at your face. Um, um, I would say this to you, and like I always say, these are my opinions. You said something that it will become a burden. I think leadership is a burden. I think it's a burden that you carry every day because you chose to carry it. And I think because you see, leadership is not by appointment. You raised up your hand and said, you know what, I want to help out. I want to lead, and you chose that burden. And I use the word burden because before I became CEO, I always asked myself that why do they pay CEOs so much? And looking back now, I understand. I am telling you, sometimes you just sit down on your couch and you can't talk to anyone because you're so bothered about something that the organization needs to carry. That's one. Number two is I do struggle with that ego piece, and I'll tell you why. You don't want to be egotistical. You want to be a down-to-earth guy that takes feedback. But sometimes people come at you with rude awakening, and with very rude awakening, and it shakes you because at the end of the day you're also human, and I know it's hard. I know for a fact it's hard. In December, so I also am the CEO of another company called Wave Beach Lagos. And so when Wave Beach opened, we were struggling with management, and so during Christmas we had a lot of guests, and somebody ordered a drink, and their drink did not come. The person knows I own the place, and I was like, oh, you know what, I will go get the drink for you. So I walked all the way to go get their drink. I brought it back. He asked me, oh, you didn't bring ice. I went back, went to get ice. Came back, I brought cup. I brought the cup. I dropped the cup on the table. Then the guy said to me that, look at this. Another person on the table looked at me and said, look at this fat guy not being able to walk fast. That hurt my feelings. Like, that truly, truly hurt my feelings. But as a leader, I had to know how to take a step back and don't flare up at the customer, because the reason why I went to get the cup was because of cash. I wanted to make money. So I had to kind of tell myself that, but again, I asked myself that, how much is the drink they're buying? I can pay for it. But that's not the goal. So as a leader, sometimes you have to learn that it's not just all about you. It's all about the organization. You have to learn how to put your ego in check. Oh my goodness, it is hard. It is very hard, because sometimes people just come at you really. Like, I got a call last night that kind of upset me. It does upset you because you're human, but you have to learn how to still be measured, still know how to walk away and go to the bathroom and scream and come back and still say, you know what, it doesn't matter, because it's for the good of the organization. It advances us forward. You have to know how to have those conversations, because you don't want to have the reputation that, oh, the owner of that place will be rude at you. Oh, don't worry, the guy, when you come in, he'll just talk to you anyhow. Or you don't want to carry that reputation, or that, oh, when you come in, this is what's going to happen. So as a leader, you have to put your ego in check. You have to put your ego in check. Is it hard? Yes, it is. I did, like, I just gave you some personal experiences. It is so hard sometimes. But again, if you really, truly want to lead, you have to understand that it's not about you. It's not about you. And the title that you hold is earned, right? It's earned. And you hold the trust of the people that work with you. If you notice, when I say work with you, I did not say work for you. They work with you. They work with you because they're working with you for now, right? They will not work with you forever, right? And your understanding of that allows you to put your own ego in check, and also know that, like, in your veins is blood like the next guy. And because of that, because we're all humans, I have to put my ego in check, because what I have today, I might not have tomorrow.
I think that is really, really important, Bayo. When you speak about what you have today, you may not have tomorrow, right? Now, Bayo, I would like you to talk about the place of inactions, right? We have spoken a lot about the actions of the leader. Now, let's explore the inactions of leaders. What exactly does this mean, and how can leaders make sense of this?
So inaction is as bad as wrong action, right? The Bible says that my people perish because they lack wisdom. I say that organization perish because they lack leadership, right? A lot of times, in the absence of leadership, there is chaos. The absence of leadership is tantamount to chaos. I don't like to get political, but sometimes when you look at the local environment in Nigeria, the challenge that we have is the absence of true leadership. True leadership. Sometimes the leader just knows that we need to close the door. That's it. And the leader knows that we need to keep everybody in the house and shut the door. And shut the door hard. I know that people are going to complain. I know it's hard, but it's for the good of the house. So we shut the door. Sometimes a leader, like I said, when Donald Trump was president of the US, I said to people that I didn't like him, but he didn't have inaction. He was still a leader that took action. It was not a oh, I don't talk to my people guy. It spoke to, we might not like what he said, we might not like what he does, but it does do something. You can be a good or a bad leader. An inaction leader does not exist, because that means that you are not a leader. That means that you are just someone that occupied that position and you did not lead. And that is the true cost of inaction. And somebody else in your organization will become the leader. Somebody else within your organization would step in behind you and lead. I've seen that firsthand. I've seen that firsthand, where The current leader was not just stepping up and leading and telling and talking to his people and taking action and doing the things that needed to do, right? And somebody else within the organization was the rallying point for everybody. Everybody went and rallied around that. And when the time for change came, that person was out, right? The leader at that time was out because, like I said, you lose that leadership position once there is inaction because there's no follower, right? And like I said, there are many CEOs that are not CEOs of their own organization, that their assistant or their secretary is the rallying point of the organization. That sometimes your secretary, even your assistant, controls every single thing that you see, because you will not kukuma do anything. So nobody asks you for anything. People go to your assistants, people go to your next layer down and ask them for stuff, and they get things done. And nobody comes to you. And you feel the organization is running well, everybody loves you, but true, they look at you as an inaction leader. And like I said, when you look at the world, the greatest people were not people that had big titles, were people that just decided that they wanted to take the bull by the horn and do something differently. I think that's true leadership. And like I said, leadership is never given, it is always earned.
Leadership is never given, it is always earned. Bayo, you have shared with us so many phenomenal nuggets today, lessons, and I'm sure that every leader on this call is taking note, and it's not just listening to this, but it's running with this insight to shape their lives and also shape their businesses forever. Bayo, before you go, would like to share some hard knocks with us. What are some of the key lessons that you have learned on this journey, both in terms of the positive consequences and the negative consequences?
Oh my goodness. Number one, first thing I've learned on this journey is that be ready to get your ego bruised, right? Like, be ready. Like, you want to lead, be ready to get your ego bruised. Number two is that there is no permanent enemy, just misaligned interest. Just misaligned interest. So don't take hostages for nothing, because when your interests get aligned, you guys will become friends. You guys will find a way. In business, you have to find a way to become friends. Number three is that the people you lead, or the people that you think you lead, are more powerful than you are. I'll say that again. Your followers have more power on aggregate than the leader. Because if the followers make a unanimous decision to stop following you, right, you stop being the leader that day. The power of leadership lies in the hands of the followers. The power of a leader lies in the hands of the followers. Another lesson: you cannot do it all as a leader. You have to find trusted partners. You have to find trusted people. And you need to be able to delegate and trust others to do it for you, or do it with you. People can work for you, but at the end of the day, if you stop to inspire them, you lose them. So be an inspiring leader, inspire your people, talk to them, listen to them. And I'm telling you, it becomes effortless, because they would lead, right? They would lead. You have leaders in your organization. You are just the head of the leaders, and you don't need to do as much work and as much heavy lifting.
Well, those are really, really great thoughts you've shared with us, Bayo. Now, we're wrapping up the session. I would like to know where we can find you. So I know you serve very, very hot content, that are really inspirational and that would evoke some form of, thoughts or direction for business leaders. So where can we find you, Bayo?
I'm easy to find. You could Google me. You'll find me, Bayo Lion Adedeji. On Instagram, Bayo Lion 1. I'm not on Twitter much, so when they ban Twitter, I'm like, whatever. I'm not really on there. I go there to read. I never really tweet, or I share things that I see. But again, I'm good with Instagram. I'm pretty much good. I'm easy to find. You can Google me. You can find a lot. You can LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm super good. My LinkedIn inbox. And honestly, I'm always willing to have a conversation. I always tell you, disclaimer: my opinion, not This is not a book. This is not. I'm not saying it's a Bible. But again, it's who I am, and I'm willing to share my opinions with you. Thank you for having me, Kemi. This has been awesome, and I'm just amazing talking to you after a long time, actually. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you so much, Bayo. You have shared really amazing tips, nuggets with us. Thank you, everyone who has also joined in. Like I said at the beginning of the session, insights without actions will always be useless. So you want to run with this key insights to achieve better effectiveness as a leader. So thank you very much, Bayo. We'll see you soon again.
All right.
Guys, you want to be on the lookout for the next episode. The leadership chat with top business leaders is absolutely phenomenal. Look back for previous content, and we would see you on the next episode. So till I see you again, keep leading, keep inspiring. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.